Cadet Nappergrant and Cadet Beasley from the History Department. As the History Department cadets on the team, our goal is to provide historical content and drive the purpose behind implementing functionalities in the app.
We will do this through communicating our end goals for the app to the rest of the team. We've collectively come up with our product vision, which is to create a fully functioning 3D augmented reality representation of the Omaha beach landings, paired with a physical map that enhances the understanding of the historical content through an intuitive, interactive, and immersive experience that reaches a broad audience.
To see this through, we have created an initial historical draft path that highlights the major themes we'd like to explore in chronological narrative, as well as tentative locations for implementing specific functionalities. As you can see, we generally focus on going from the overall plan of Operation Overlord and how it fits into World War II as a whole, and then specifically Operation Neptune and the Omaha beach landings, the preparations for that, the landings themselves involving both the German and American perspectives, and how the face of battle is really shown in those first beach landings, and eventually moving up the ridgeline, the breakout through the beachhead, and establishing for further on operations past D+1, and ultimately looking at D-Day in memory, as well as its overall impact on the war.
To further explore these themes, we are going to provide specific focused content that meets our projected balance of usability and educational value. We've established an early reading assignment list with deadlines. This will help us to create a general historical narrative that both the history guys can agree on and that we can inform the team with. We have also created a 3D model wish list with a deadline of November 20th to allow for acquisition and adjustment on the technical side.
For Sprint 0, our capacity was 73.5 hours. We calculated this by multiplying 7 cadets times 3 lessons times 3.5 hours. We estimated that our team would spend 80.5 hours amongst all the tasks in our sprint backlog. The actual amount of hours we spent was 77.85. One lesson learned from this sprint is that we need to keep better track of the hours that we're spending on each task, and in order to do this, I made a Google Doc where each team member can input the amount of hours that they're spending on every task in the sprint backlog. As you can see, this is our Trello. First, we started out by populating our product backlog with a prioritized list of all the things and features we need to add to our project. We also used it to manage our tasks for Sprint 0. So as you can see, our Sprint 0 backlog is now empty. Pretty much all of the tasks are in the done column. And there's one task that was still left in work in progress that we did not complete because it was a training course that had to be purchased. So we did not complete that task.
In this initial sprint, I made use of the resources recommended to us by an app employee during a video call. One of the 2 resources was a YouTube channel owned by Jarrett Davison. Jarrett has several videos not just on app development using Switch for iOS, but also several demos utilizing ARKit with tutorials. The other resource was developer.apple.com, and here I found out that Swift 4 is an open source. Learning this, I discovered an open source project that enables Swift programming on Windows operating systems by the name of Swift for Windows. This enables our team to further development of our own project without worrying if we have access to a Mac or not, as every single team member has a personal Windows laptop. This is a simple script in Swift that I made to see Swift's differences versus other languages and begin to build my expertise of the platform. A difference I noticed on Swift compared to other languages immediately is the method of calling the variable inside a print statement where response is in parentheses, and another part is the exclamation point here, which indicates that this is not optional. This right here is the Switch for Windows application itself, where I will compile and run the program. And you're gonna program, just type in my name, and this is the example script that I made. This is just showing us that we can work on this anywhere, and if we find ourselves unable to use a Mac, we can always just use the Windows computer to get the job done.
For this sprint, I mainly focused on gaining access to the previous group's code, as well as forming a baseline level of knowledge of the Swift coding language. We initially tried to find the code on the SharePoint on the XE401 website. Here, we found a file containing the group's login information, but when we logged onto this account, all of the repos were cleared. I then called one of the previous group's members, Second Lieutenant Bradley Cho, who told me that his group had acquired 2 MacBook Pros, which would contain the code. After signing for the laptops, I was able to log in and find their code. As you can see, the code is heavily commented, making it easier to read and understand. To gain a greater knowledge of the Swift language, I watched tutorials about it on Pluralsight. We were originally going to take courses in Udacity to learn about ARKit, but I already had a subscription to Pluralsight, so we chose to use it instead. I also took notes while watching these videos so that our team could use them as a reference if needed. The biggest obstacles that we are currently facing from the code development side of the project are: we are currently still learning how to code in Swift. We do not currently know all of the features that Xcode offers. And we have a rudimentary knowledge of how ARKit works, but have not used it yet because of our lack of knowledge of Swift.
Hello, this is Cadet James Gamara. I was mainly responsible within these past few weeks for the development, acquisition, and acquiring process for previous work in collaboration with the Point to Hawk group. The first thing I took responsibility for was acquiring the previous year's material from the SharePoint as seen here. Once in the main file, you can see that it appears that the previous group has left us a lot of information. We soon found out that this was not true, on the SharePoint at least. Once it was discovered that the information was inaccessible, we contacted Second Lieutenant Andre Huffnagel and Second Lieutenant Bradley Cho via phone, who instructed us to gain access to the MacBooks from the history department, which is where we found the majority of our data, which can be seen here in the Google Doc. The Google Doc contains information which can be seen in the Omaha Beach capstone folder, as seen above. Once inside, we can now access the point images seen here, which contains the modules used on the AR last year, the nodes, which contain all of the functional nodes alongside the maps which are developed for the final product, and finally the project demo, which proved to be extremely helpful for providing the history majors with a visual representation of the scope of the project and potential corrections and add-ons for this year.
Good.